Welcome, this is Diego Accord here in the Ramblings of a Board Guy, and today I'm going to be talking about a couple different things. So, it has been a long time since I've done one of these videos, one of these talking videos, and usually the subjects are related to hobbies and whatnot. So, there has been movement in the gaming, cars, and the travel, and by travel I mean Japan. So I will start off with gaming, as it's the least consequential thing. So about 2 weeks ago, I built my current PC. It is a 9800 X3D and a 5090 and a Lian Li 011 compact black with Trix 360 AIO. Lian Li LCD fans to replace the AIO fans, and then Lian Li Infinity fans for the rest. So lower intake reverse and rear exhaust normal fans. So that's the current build. And the reason that I actually did a new build, I wasn't looking to do a new build completely. So when the 5090 came out, I was able to get one off BestBuy.com on day one for MSRP, and it was an FE card. So I had, I wanted the Oris Master Ice version because it was white and it matched my build. And you can see my previous build on the channel. And that card was going to match. So I had both devices. I had two devices going on Best Buy site. One on the Master Ice and one on the FE. And FE, I was able to get into the cart at 9 o'clock, and I got that one. The Master Ice did not unlock at 9 o'clock. I don't actually know when it unlocked, because I went to sleep a couple hours after getting the card, after ordering the FE, and it still wasn't unlocked. And by the time I went to sleep and got up for work, it was sold out. So it unlocked sometime during the afternoon. So anyway, after getting the 5090, there were still issues. There were still like some shortcomings with the PC, because I originally built that PC right when the 4090 came out, and DDR5 was expensive, so I had 32 gigs, and that was already an issue with this little game that came out called Microsoft Flight Sim 24. I actually had to play that game on my Series X because of the stutter that I was getting on PC with 32 gigs of RAM. So anyway, I went to 64 gigs of RAM, and I had to do it because I had to do it with 4 16 sticks of G.Skill Royal. And the reason is because I wanted that type of RAM. I wanted the G.Skill Royal because of the looks. And then the second thing about it was that it had to be in stock at Micro Center. I prefer to get my shit in stock at Micro Center instead of getting online and having to order all that shit and getting the wrong thing or getting a brick or some dumb shit. So anyway, on my 7700X and X670E-A Asus board, it ran the 4 sticks at the full 6,000 mega transfers, which was great. So then at this point, I'm like, I have just one weakness left, and that is the 7700X. So I go for a 98 X3D, and unfortunately, that I bend the pins on the motherboard trying to put that in, because I left the computer upright. So I left the computer upright, and then I also just I loosened the AIO cover, like the block or whatever, just had it hanging off to the side, and that was it. I didn't even move the computer. ever had to go somewhere and enjoyed the fucking trip. Driving fucking sucks 100% of the time that you have to. And even if you're going to do something fun, it might just be because of the city layout here. But even if I was, like, I don't go to meets because it's not even fun to drive to the fucking meets. Like, Cars and Coffee, just, nah. I don't want to get on the fucking highway and do that shit. Fuck that. So anyway, that's kind of how I feel about computers, like building them. It's just not that fun. So anyway, yes, it's not that fun, so I decided to build a whole new one. And this is with a white O11 and white Galahad AIO. I wanted to make it all Lian-Li to make it easier and more simple to build because I have, multiple controllers in my in that last PC, that one in the LandCool 3. So, that sucked. I wanted to simplify it, so that attempt was the O11 in white. And then the Galahad LCD with the LCD fans to replace it, and then the Infinity fans, pretty much like the build that I have now. But this was a white build, and it still had the FE card, so the card didn't match. And I tried the 4 sticks of the Royal, and they didn't run at the full 6,000 mega transfers on that setup. So that was bad, and then even worse was the fact that they ran, that the CPU itself ran at a half a gigahertz. That's right, 0.56 gigahertz. And I don't know why it did that, because I took the AIO off, remounted it, just to make sure it still did that. Couldn't see if the temperature was bad, and it was probably bad, and the computer would shut down after not too long, of course. Makes sense, and it was too slow to actually do anything. So I just took everything apart, took it back to the store, and said, fuck it, I'm gonna sit on this stuff for a minute. And then about 2 weeks later, I built the computer that I have now, which is the black O11 and Trikes and all that stuff. And I do have an ASRock Nova X870E board because I think it's the best looking black motherboard. So good luck with that for me with that 98X3D. Now anyway, unfortunately, oh yeah, and RAM. So I did not want to do the 4 sticks of RAM because I figured if the Aorus Pro Ice motherboard wasn't going to work with it, and that 98X3D was not a good sample, I'm guessing. I could have tried it again, 4 sticks of 16, but I didn't want to. I just wanted to have 2 sticks and just make sure it ran right, because it still would have been another trip to Micro Center. Like, let's say it's a, get the RAM. It would have been another trip to Micro Center, and then I would have had to go and, if it didn't run right, had to take it back, and so I can then still order the RAM online. So I ordered, the 2x32 G.Skill kit. Now, I could have done Dominator, which I considered doing Dominator at first. But I could have done Dominator Platinums and then got the dummy stick so I could have all 4 slots filled up, and it would at least look better. But the best look would have been 4 G.Skill Royals, but So anyway, that's where I'm at on the PC stuff. Nothing else has really changed. I haven't really played anything. Since the last video, I actually started playing Street Fighter 6 a little more. Got a couple characters to master, including Mai, who had just come out recently. I got her within a couple days to master, and then Elena is coming out here shortly, and I'm gonna see about getting her a quick master run, as long as I get her my 10 placement matches, as long as I do well on those and I get in the Diamond 5, hopefully. Because I'm gonna do some good practice, to make sure that everything is up to snuff. Like, I'm not gonna go in blind. I want to make sure I have a good B&B good anti-air, and I mean, they're supposed to change some stuff with the game. So, but we'll see. I just want to do a master run with her and go from there. Now, the biggest thing about gaming is going to be Tokyo Extreme Racer 2025 for me. Now, that came out in early access at Steam only so far, and I will need to do a video on it. The reason I haven't done a video is because when the PC was down, I did I used my laptop to play games, and the issue with that is that every port on that laptop is taken up. Every port is taken up, unfortunately, which means I don't have a port left over for my headset. So I have like a Turtle Beach 700 something or other. You can use it Bluetooth, or you can use a dongle, the wireless dongle. And in order for there not to be the weird Bluetooth lag on Windows, you must use the dongle. So just didn't have enough slots open for that. So I think it's like 3 USBs on that laptop. It's a Legion 4060 laptop. And I need one for the mouse, one for the keyboard, one for the controller, and then the USB-C. One of them can be used as an HDMI, so I use it as an HDMI because I have 2 monitors. So I use the standard HDMI for one monitor, USB-C to HDMI for the second monitor. So that's how I do it. No slots left. So anyway, that'll be coming. Now anyway, cars. A little more going on there. So the Evo, my Evo 10 is back in my possession and running. Still needs some issues taken care of. So, it's fully built motor. Got a fuel system, full fuel system in there from Walbro, 525 pump up to 2150 cc FIC injectors and everything in between. AMS fuel rail, so on and so forth. A lot of stuff. So, however, I have high fuel pressure, and it's like, I know, right? When you buy the fuel pump, it's like, high pressure fuel pump, and then you're shocked that you have high pressure. So anyway, it's like 55 psi at idle, and it needs to be like 43 or something like that. So I had to figure that out. It's a common thing with Evo 10s when you do fuel system, like when you do fuel pump. Unless you go like radium thingamabobber or whatever, and I'm like, I don't want to do all that fucking shit. So anyway, what's the other thing I gotta figure? There's something else. Oh yeah, my data logging cable. It has a 9-pin serial out to connect to the computer, and I have to fix that. The end of it got snapped off by my knee getting into the car one time. So I have some new 9 pins, and I have a soldering iron, so I will be soldering that. It's going to be difficult because of the location. Like, it's going to be done while everything's still in the car, and I'm not taking the dash apart. I'm not fucking doing any of that shit. I just want the thing there. It's going to be hard to do because of maneuverability and all this other stuff, and the way everything's laid out. It sucks. It's going to suck. I know that much. So, but that's where we're at on the Evo. Just got to get that stuff taken care of, and then the Mustang. So the clutch went down on to the floor last Saturday. So that's great. It could be the master cylinder or it could be slave cylinder. I don't know. If it's a master cylinder, it would be possibly easier to fix. If it's the master cylinder, that'll be $90 from the dealership, and then you know, one of those open hexes or something, and you know, possibly get that done, and then bleed the shit. If it's the slave cylinder, so anyway, I have to have the Mustang done so I can take it to Japan, because that is the reason that I want to go back to Japan, and I will be getting to that here shortly. So there's that. And the Mustang, you know, it needs to be cleaned up a bit. My rear bumper is black. It has to be body color. So I gotta deal with that. I gotta figure out my wheel situation, like what wheels to take. Maybe I need some different front wheels anyway. I'm thinking of taking they got a drag pack. I'm thinking of running rear drags, radials on the car while I'm there, because spotting a Mustang with drag radials in Japan is probably going to be a very rare thing to see. So, you know, I think that'll be cool to see, but I've got to figure out front wheels, because I have on the car right now a set of OEM black accent package wheels, which would probably be fine enough, but I don't want OEM wheels when I go. So there's that. I have a set of 4-star CF5Vs, but one front and one rear is cracked, unfortunately, so I kind of have to, if I want to take those, I'll just get one fixed. Like the front one that's cracked, I'll just, I guess, have it fixed and have the set painted some other color than what they are. Maybe Takata green. I've always wanted a Takata green set of wheels, and I've never done it. So anyway, you know, that's that. But I'll just have to clean that car up so I can get it out to Japan. Now, the other thing with cars is that I just bought a semi-daily, and it would be a C43 AMG, the twin turbo V6. And what's crazy is it just feels slow. Like, you know, I'm sure like most people that get a car like that, that's the fastest shit that they've driven at the time, or the fastest shit that they've owned at the time. So it's just like amazing. And I'm like, it's like, oh man, I'm too used to, like, you know, the Mustang and shit. So like it feels slow. Like I'm already just, okay, let's, But you know, I mean, still, like, something like that still has more than enough power to just like go around anybody that is driving like a fucking bitch. And that's the reason that, you know, I got the car. So I wanted a better daily initially, is all I wanted, because, you know, I have the Mustang, the Evo. Those are not daily cars at all. And then this Wrangler that I'm driving is the family daily. And then I have the work vehicle, which is a Sebring. And it's crazy because the Sebring's like an 08, 09 or something. And this Jeep is like 10 years newer. And it has the same exact key. And the interior just like feels mostly the same as that, despite being 10 years newer than that Sebring. But anyway, so the thing was, driving that Sebring is painful, because when people are driving slowly, you know, it's a car from the 4-speed automatic era. It's just, you can't go around anybody. And I hate that. I don't understand how people could buy automatics back then. I'm like, my first automatic, technically my first automatic purchase was a Camry, like the 99 or so body style, because I had a Camry of that body style already that was a stick, and I bought this automatic to take the motor out. But the whole car was like fucking 10 times nicer than my stick Camry. Like, fucking suspension was wonky on mine, and you know, it had like twice as many miles on it. Like this automatic Camry had like 80 something thousand miles on it. My shit had like 150 or something. I had like wonky suspension that just felt, you know, like tram lined. It felt horrible. And this other one, you know, my stick shift didn't have AC. This one had fucking AC. It was a cream puff, so I just drove it instead because it was just fucking way nicer. However, the second automatic that I bought was a Malibu. In 2019, I bought this car certified pre-owned, and I was specifically looking for Malibu Premier. So this was a 2.0T 9-speed car. And that's why I could put up with the automatic, because it had so many gears, and you know, the 0 to 60 was in the 5s, just because of the fucking trans and all that stuff. So that's when I could stand automatics, is when they had so many gears that like it's not a detriment to the, you know, compared to the stick shift anymore. Because you know, when you're driving stuff like you know, like old Civics and shit that have 130 horsepower. With a 4-speed, you know, 4-speed versus 5-speed, it's a fucking completely different damn thing. You know, 0 to 60s in old cars like that, like a fucking second faster with a stick than an automatic. And, you know, I don't have the patience to wait on a fucking 4-speed automatic car to do its stuff. Its long, slushy shifts. So anyway, you know, I wanted a better daily. Like this Jeep is also slow AF, and I mean it's 300 horsepower, which seems like a good enough amount, which it would be a good enough amount. But we're talking about a 5-speed automatic, I believe, in this, and plus, I mean, it's a big ass Jeep with big ass wheels. Lifted and all this other stuff. So yeah, it's still painfully slow to try to get around people, and I don't have the patience for these, like for this kind of stuff. So anyway, you know, I wanted another little daily that was more fun, like something like RSX type S or Civic SI 8th gen, or you know, it's something like that. A Scion TC 1st gen. I hate the way the 2nd gen looks because of that fucking C-pillar in the rear window, and the tail lights and the facelift headlights. And now I'm just gonna name the whole fucking car. So anyway, so I just wanted something like better like that with a stick that's like, man, I could just like downshift and get around the average person still. But the problem is every car was just like a piece of shit on Marketplace. Like, you just look and it's just trash. And the thing is, like, if the car looks decent, so if the car looks good and the price is like $2,500, you know, when you hit Seymour, that shit's gonna need an engine. And they all say it like runs good too. That's the worst fucking part about it. It's like it looks good and then it says, you know, like, oh, Civic Si or something runs good, and then you see Seymour and it's like just needs an engine. Then it mean it doesn't run at all, you stupid son of a bitch. So yeah, and then the ones that run are like 4K minimum, and it's crazy because back in 2019 those cars were like, you know, $3,000 and an average mileage of like 170, 150, something like that. Now they, you know, now people want like 45, 5,000, 55, 6,000 if they have that mileage. And you know, if they might, you know, if it has like 250,000, you might be able to get it for $4,000. And you know, I'm just like, man, fuck all of these people. So I went and got a Mercedes C300 W205 initially. So you know, so I got a facelift car with the digital gauges and, you know, all this stuff, you know, the AMG Sport package. and so forth. It was nice. It was gunmetal with the saddle interior. AMG wheels. I liked it. It was nice. However, it kind of drove like the way this Jeep drives with the tires and like something, like just something was off. I took it to Mercedes-Benz dealership here, and you know, it was like $5,200 worth of stuff to, you know, fix the car, including, you know, tires, alignment, and so on and so forth, because the car was from Carvana, and you know you got to get their cars checked out before you keep it. So anyway, dealership found all that stuff to fix, and then I went after that to, you know, a place that Carvana, you know, says is a place that they use or whatever in their network of whatever the fuck, and that place didn't want to fix some of the stuff. So to me, since I know that it needs this and this and this and this and this, and you only want to fix this and this, I don't consider, like, I wouldn't consider the car fixed, so I gave that back to them. And unfortunately, the way that I saw it was that the C300 that I chose was like the best spec of a C300 that you could have gotten. The only thing that was missing option-wise was ventilated seats. It had heated seats, but there's just that one button on the door for ventilated seats that most of those don't have. Even C43s, you know, C43 AMGs. So, and you know, even, and that's the thing, I had a digital gauge cluster in mind, and even then, most C43s, like facelift C43s, where it's an option, they didn't have it. So they actually, you know, I sent the car back, and then they got the perfect one in that, you know, it was a facelift, had every single option, including the seats, including ventilated seats, and also had, you know, the digital gauge cluster and everything else that I wanted. And it was a what I call a contrast car, so, you know, different color interior, because I didn't want like a C43 that was like white with black leather. You know, I wouldn't have minded my color combination in a C43, the gunmetal and saddle brown. However, you know, I ended up getting this white one. You know, it's white with red interior and a digital cluster. So I'm good. The only thing that I don't like about the way that it actually looks is just the fact that, you know, it came with these wheels, and I don't know if these wheels are shitty or not, because they're not OEM wheels, and like AMG factory wheels might just be better. Like the set that were on my C300, probably I wouldn't mind having those on the car, but I'm not gonna pay for them. So anyway, yeah, I ended up with the C43 just because people were just being pieces of shit with their cars. I mean, look, market is the market, but I don't have to fucking deal with it. I'll just, if I'm gonna fucking pay for something, if I'm gonna pay, you know, like, I'm not gonna overpay for any car that I could have gotten for $1,000 a couple years ago. I'm not gonna give somebody like $4,000 for it. Like, I'll just go get a real fucking car like I did. So, you know, that is what it is. So anyway, you know, that's where cars are at. So now Japan. Now the plan is to go back this year. The main reason is to be able to drive my car, to drive the Mustang there. Now, of all the cars, why the Mustang? Is because that's the car that I trust the most. And, you know, also, you know, I mean, yeah, that's basically it. I trust that car the most. Unfortunately, like I said, it's down right now due to stuff related to things that are attached to the transmission, and, you know, the MT82 and anything that's attached to the MT82 are the weak points of the S550 Mustang. goalpost has been set. Because going to Japan originally was something I did not think I was going to do. I said in jest way back that the only way I was ever going to get on an airplane was if I was going to Japan to go drive a Lance Revolution 6 or a Skyline GTR on the Shudo Expressway in Tokyo. I literally have said that because people, like at this job that I had, you know, one of my vacations was to do a cross country, which I've done multiple of those on the bus, but I happen to also just do one for a, you know, as a vacation 1 year at this job. And anytime that that was talked about, like vacations and traveling was ever mentioned, like somebody would never fail to say, man, that was crazy how you went over, you know, you went all the way across the country on the bus, man. You know, you should have took a plane. It would have taken like, you know, hours as opposed to, you know, 3-4 days. Which is true, and I would, like that quote that I said, I would literally say that every time. Like, I'm not getting on a plane unless this, and this. Because number one, I did not want to get on a plane. And, you know, basically that was it. And then the other thing is that, you know, at this point in life, you know, Japan was something that I used to want to do. I used to want to live over there, and, you know, I had all those ideas and shit when I was a kid. And then, you know, life like punches you in the face, and you realize that, like, oh, well, shit just sucks, so fuck Japan, fuck anything else. Right? I'm just here to exist, is what it was at the time. So I'm saying this in jest because, you know, this thing is never going to happen. So it would take this thing that's never going to happen for me to get on an airplane, is basically what I'm saying. And at the time, it does seem quite impossible for that stuff to happen. However, you know, full circle moment, going to Japan, because the first time I get on an airplane, as I told people many years prior, that the only way I'm getting on an airplane is to go to Japan, and I'd have to go drive an Evo 6 or a Skyline, and I literally went to Japan, first time on an airplane, drove an Evo 6 on the Shudo Expressway. So, full circle moment. But then, you know, I didn't go to Kyoto or Osaka as I wanted to, just because I had, you know, the regular rental car as well that I was responsible for, and I did not want to drive it that far from Tokyo out there. So, unfortunately, I was going to have to save Kansai for a later trip, which would have been the next year. I was going to do China for a week and then Kansai for a week and call that like fine. But then COVID happened, and, you know, there was no anywhere for a very long time. I didn't go anywhere again until 23, because I mean, Japan took forever to open up. They didn't open up until October 22, and although I was on vacation at that time, like right a week after they opened, I could have gone there had I wanted, but I didn't want to, because I didn't think that being one of the first people back was a smart idea. And secondly, it was also cold as fuck in 2022. Like the fall of 22 was fucking cold. So I wouldn't have enjoyed myself. So anyway, you know, I did go back in 23, you know, because at that time I'm like, between the first trip and the second trip, you know, so much shit happened, you know, COVID, shit, everything shutting down, and then COVID actually almost killing me as well. So I'm like, man, if I get to go to Japan, I gotta do a fucking month, and I definitely have to go to Kyoto and Osaka. So, you know, I did that. You know, I stayed all of October of 23, and, you know, I did a week in Tokyo, a week in Kyoto, a week in Osaka, a week in Tokyo. And within those, the 2 times of Tokyo, I also took cars from Omoshiro as well. And, you know, the first time I took the Skyline R33 GTR, and then the second time I did the Honda S660. Now, that's why I have to come back, is because, you know, driving the R33, just like when I drove the Evo before it, those cars are kind of nerve-wracking to drive because of, their age, their condition, and, the fact that you're responsible for it if it blows up. And if you know anything about, like, cars and shit, if you had cars blow up, I'm sure everybody that has had a car blow up has probably had a car just, like, blow up out of nowhere. Like, you're just driving along, and, you just start hearing that shit knock or something, or whatever, and it's just like, what the fuck? How is this happening? You don't necessarily need to be beating on a car for that shit to happen. Any number of factors. So anyway, the thing is, because of the use of those cars, they're getting driven every day by anybody from anywhere in any way that they want. So, and they're old and they're already not known for their reliability as it is. So to me, it's just an anxiety-inducing experience, more so maybe than it is to a lot of people. And as far as reactions and stuff, that was cool, but it still wasn't my car. Like, I'm parking the Skyline, and people are like, "Oh man, can I take a picture of that?" and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, sure. Knock yourself out. You may be asking someone tomorrow, like someone else. So, yeah. But anyway, I drove the S660, as I said, the second time around in Tokyo for that trip, and I can say that it was a much more fun experience because the S660 is not old, and I didn't feel like it was just going to break at any moment. And that's the thing, about these cars. Like, when you are spending this kind of money to rent these cars or whatever, like, I want interesting cars. And, of course, if you're talking about Japanese stuff, those 80s or those 90s cars and stuff, those are going to be the most interesting cars for you. That's just what it is. That's their heyday. That's Japan's heyday. And anyway, they started giving us the cars in the 2000s. All the JDM cars that you can drive that are newer for the most part, except for stuff like K cars, such as the S660, you can get those cars over here. Miatas, they had like NCs and NDs. Like, you can have that shit over here. You can have, you have both generations of BRZ and FR86 or whatever it is, GT86, FRS, whatever, Z33s, Z34, RZ34. We have all that stuff. Subaru V8, VB. We have all that stuff. Evo 10s, we have that stuff. I have one of those. V35 and newer Skylines, aka Infinities, and so on and so forth. Like, none of those cars are, unique for us. So and I'm not interested in owning or even really driving any of those cars here, so I'm not going to pay a premium to drive one over there. But, obviously, it would be more comfortable to drive, like a new 86, because I'm not going to feel like it's breaking, but it's still not my car. Like, you've got the memories of, memories and pictures of driving these cars and stuff, but there will just be something more special if it's your car that you own and you've got it over there. So that's one of the things about it that I need to do. And after that, there won't be like a need to do in Japan after that, I don't believe. At least not for me. But, the main reason I'm doing this stuff, like a lot of this stuff, like building that computer, computer, when buying this car, going on this trip, like trying to get this trip out of the way, like a lot of this stuff is simply due to me wanting like to do things while it's possible to do them. Because the way that shit is working out, like, may be impossible to do, a lot of these damn things in the near future. So, I'd like to just be able to do them while it's a possibility. So, and all the strife that could have happened or that did happen between the first and second trips to Japan lets me know that, like, if there's something that you want to do, you need to fucking go ahead and do it before you lose out the possibility of doing it at all. So, that I'm doing this stuff. It's fucking very expensive year for me. Now, here's the other thing about this trip. This trip is also going to be a little different in the fact that I will not be going solo for once. I'm going to be taking my kid and my best friend. Now, I offered both of them the last time as well. Now, my kid is 10, so they were 8 the last time that I was going. And I said that, you're going to have to come back as an unaccompanied minor because I'm doing a month. You cannot be there for a month. So you have to come back as an unaccompanied minor. And, mom was not going. And it's not a situation of, we're not together. It's like a, shared parenting or any stuff like that. Oh, we are together. However, Japan, is a trip that would be wasted on her for, whatever reason, because that's just not a thing that she does. Like, it's not America adjacent enough. That's the kind of person, if I were going to, the UK or something, that's a different story. Or somewhere where English is spoken, then that'd be more of a possibility. But anywhere anywhere in Asia is not gonna be, it's not gonna be it. Anywhere where, I feel like you need some language, because that's the thing, even with, when I was gonna go to China, I started trying to learn Mandarin a little bit before that trip was to happen, when I came back from Japan. So, Japan itself, I was already learning that as a kid, kind of fell off for a very long time, but then I started to, cram after I booked the tickets, and I knew I was actually going. So, I did that, and then, so I did that, crammed, and then, immersion while there, so it was pretty good. And with the Mandarin, I said, I learned a decent little chunk in that amount of time, and I've spoken to Chinese people here in Mandarin, and actually when I went to Japan, there were a lot of Chinese people there, and I spoke to them as well. And they always have they're always happy to hear it. But that's not how mom is, so I'm not gonna go on that trip. She's not gonna go there. That's just not how that's gonna go. But anyway, kid didn't want to come back as an unaccompanied minor, and best friend did not want to fly over the ocean, which the admittance of that was not straightforward at the beginning. And I figured it was something. I actually, what I thought initially was that it was like money related. Now, I'm paying, like I was paying for the flight and the rooms and stuff like that. I'm just like, you just take care of your food and like whatever extras, is really all you gotta do, and then you're good. So, that's it. Food and extras. And I know stuff is like tight and stuff like that. So, I had to wonder, like, was that a reason that it was like, because like, there were just like excuses that kind of seemed flimsy, but the reason ended up being because of flying over the water. Now, this person, he flew way before I did and many more times than me. And as a matter of fact, we did a vacation when we were fucking young. His mom brought me along on a vacation when we were young, and I fucking met them on the bus, and she paid for this. And I still chose the bus because I didn't want to fucking fly. And, I came the next day, and this was to like Universal Studios, so it took like a day to get there. For me, I was there the next day, and that's how I wanted to go, by the bus. And the bus definitely, even when I took the bus or whatever, like the bus was not cheaper than the plane. So it was not even, about the money. I just did not want to take an airplane. And here I have somebody, like they're trying to convince me, like, yeah, man, just come with us on the plane, man. Let's just go. And I'm like, nah. So, I understand not wanting to fly, but he'd already flown, just never over the water. He's, he also flew to Evo, which is in Las Vegas, which is pretty much most of the country. But being over the water and having misconceptions about how long you're out over the water, because when you fly to Japan from the U.S., if you fly from, some of these more northern airports, like I've, from Japan to and or from, I've done JFK, ORD, and MSP, and those all take you north. So you go into Canada, like JFK is the longest one. The other two take about 11 hours to Japan or from Japan, about 11 hours. The JFK takes about 14 hours. And you're only over the water for 4 of those 14 hours. So you go all the way up into Canada, north, and then you come back down through Canada still, and then through Alaska, and then, the islands at the tip of Alaska. You go through, you go down that, and then, after that, you've got like about 4 hours until your destination. And, then, and even then, I think like you will travel down the coast of Japan. So if the plane needed to like go down in Sapporo or something, like they could land there as well. And so I had to explain and show him on the maps like how this stuff actually works, because if you go to Japan, because we can't fly directly from our airport to Japan, so you will have a layover. And let's say if the layover in America ends at LAX or something, if you have an itinerary where you go to LAX, then if you go from LAX to Japan, that is like 10 hours or something like that, and you're over the water the complete whole time. So it's different depending on where you go and how you get there. And then even, so from here you can go directly to Heathrow, London, LHR, and that's a much shorter flight than going to Japan. However, you're over the water for a much longer time than you are going to Japan. So, I had to explain this stuff. I'm like, man, it's not too bad, and you're also being offered something that like you won't be able to do otherwise. Plus, you play fighting games. I'm like, first thing that I did was to go play fighting games when I first landed in Japan. I'm like, arcade. So I'm like, you're just missing out now. Because with this trip, I'm like, dude, I am not gonna be able to possibly offer this again. We don't know what the fuck's going on with anything. So the chances of me being able to offer this again, not likely. So, I would take this up. And, he has taken it up. And, we'll go from there. So, yep. That's going to be it. Now, it's going to be, taking them is going to kind of make my trip weird because they're going to be doing 2 weeks. I'm going to be doing 4. Ideally, I would be going longer than that. I know, I could be there at least 2 months. And I could, and depending on who is, the person running things, at least 6 weeks could be 6 weeks was approved by somebody. Although initially a person before them was like, yeah, 2 months is fine. Because we have people that go to their home countries for like that long, and it's fine for them, so I let it be fine for you. But, they weren't the one in charge at the time, and this other person was like, 6 weeks. Which I think I could have still gotten 2 months, but somebody else that does what I do is gonna have like the first 2 weeks of November, so that means that I'd have to do the first 2 weeks of the last 2 weeks of September, and then all of October is what I would have to take. And the problem is, what my best friend has, is the first 2 weeks of October. That is what he can do, and I have to fly when he flies. Well, it's going to be all 3 of us, me, my kid, and him. But I'm the only one that has the the experience with this stuff to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. Even though, obviously when I did it in before COVID in 2019, that was like the first time, and it was just a smooth situation. But either way, it's still just better if we all do this at once. Instead of me being there for 2 weeks and then I pick them up. Or, something like, it would be some weird shit like where maybe I'd have my kid for 2 weeks and then, but, it's a lot. But either way, the way that it's going to work out now is that they're going to be there we're all going at the same time, October 4th. They are going to fly back together in 2 weeks. I will stay there, and I will have to change how I would normally do things because, initially I told him if he can only get 1 week off, then we just do Tokyo. But if he got 2, then we try to go ahead and get all 3 of them in within the 2 week span. But after that, because I'm thinking they're gonna leave out of Kansai International, and then I can stay in Osaka for another week, because that is my favorite place. Osaka is my favorite place, so I stay there for another week or something, and then I do Tokyo for about the last week or so and call it a day. So that's the plans. That is everything that's going on so far. Here in a couple hours, actually, in about 2 hours, 2.5, I have an appointment at the Benz dealership to get this car checked out like I checked out the C300. Now, I initially just went to a place that, Carvana would use. But since this is an even more expensive car than the last one, I think that Ben should actually have to look at this and make sure it doesn't need anything that is hidden from me, because that's the thing with Carvana cars. So I'll pay this other $200. I already wasted $200 on that last car, that C300. So we'll do it again here on this one, and we'll go from there. If they check it out, good. Or if, as long as Carvana's people, the Silver Rock or whatever it's called, as long as they pay for all the shit that is found on this car, then, we're good. And other than that, like, do I try a third car from them again? Because, getting a car from them, like, the convenience of getting a car from Carvana cannot be fucking measured compared to a fucking dealership. Like, when I was taking a C300 back, when I had already decided to take that car back, I was looking at other C43s that were like actually in stock at local places, and no. I even went to go test drive one, and I was there for like 30 minutes to find out they didn't have the car. Like, it was being worked on. After I'm there for 30 minutes, I'm like, man, I could have just fucking left. So either way, that's just what it is. It is what it is. We'll take this car out there, and I'm driving a Jeep right now. And the reason that I wasn't driving that car for this is because you've also got a mileage limit during your test drive or whatever. So I don't want to put just whatever kind of miles on that car while I'm doing this. So, we'll see. All right, and that will do it for me for now. Bye until the next one.